Hey everyone, this is Brian Ramirez from Sinister Gaming. Wanted to showcase my 11th place Live Twin Spright deck from the LA Regional. I've been using it ever since and it's performing pretty well, so let's just get straight into it. For the Twins package, I play the 2 Lila, 1 Kiss Kill, and 1 Frost. Pretty standard stuff there. And then for the sprites, I played 3 blue, 3 jet, 1 of each of the utility negates, and then the pixies as well. The pixies was pretty good during the tournament just for the fact that when you're maintaining advantage and don't need to use starter on your turn, usually just bringing out blue during your opponent's turn and searching pixies was like a play I typically did a lot. And plus you gotta be prepared for those weird matchups. And then I actually did play a frog package just because it's so strong. The twins are good normal summons, but this is definitely the priority of the two, but there's cards that will help facilitate to accomplish both Toad and the Live Twins on the final board, which we'll get into later. For some of the spells, as far as consistency, I have 3 Prosperity, the Light Twin Sunny Snitch here, and these 3 starters. Pretty much standard there. I don't think I needed any more snitches. And then I have 2 Sprite Smashers, 2 Enemy Controller, and 2 Talents for kind of techs going first and second. The double Smashers was definitely the right meta call because it works well with some of the other cards that we'll discuss right after this. Same with Enemy Controller, and Talents was just kind of there as insurance and to help break boards and have our cards resolve, especially our gigantic sprite. So the reason why we don't play hand traps is because we play hard going second cards like Mystic Mine and Dark Ruler. The idea was pretty much Joshua Schmidt's theory that you can pretty much set up a really good board and then have follow-up for Mystic Mine. I personally just went with this build because I typically lose a lot of die rolls, but I'd say I won like 40% of the die rolls during this tournament, and then yeah, I don't really miss the hand traps. The Mystic Mine performs really well, especially in the Tier Elements matchup. They never really play around it, and the only out in the main deck is the Galaxy Cyclone, which if they mill it, you know, good for them. If they don't, then you pretty much have control of the game and it goes on your pace. Also note that the Mystic Mine just works extremely well under Zeus and Mannequin Cat in the extra deck, which I'm playing. Last spell is Call to the Grave, really good. And I guess the only other hand trap, well, the only hand trap I play is Imperm, just because Triple Tactics Talent exists. And this is the only few hand traps that works well going second and as a top deck, so it's never really dead. For the extra deck, I play 2 Elf. Could probably bump it up to 3, seeing as I have a couple cards that I'll show that don't really get used as much as I thought they would, so 3 Elf would be nice, maybe as the only change for this deck. Other than that, I don't really have changes for the extra deck especially. For the Twins package, this is pretty standard stuff. I never banish these off Prosperity. I'll let you know which ones I banish. I usually banish the Cerberus, the Dark, and the Access Code going second, or going first. Hardly ever banish 6, but if I do have to banish 6, it's going to be the Twins, just because they serve no purpose. Or rather, they're just not going to usually resolve if you need to do 6, so those are the ones that usually get banished. This is my third elf slot in a way, so I do summon this more typically on a local level, not really in higher level events. I don't really get as much advantage to get to the point where the access code can be made, but yeah, this could be the third elf. Dark's super good in the mirror and versus tier elements, and then Cerberus is just overall pretty decent when you get the combos start going off, essentially. And then pretty much the standard XCs package of the Toad and the Gigantic, and then the Mannequin Cat, super good card. This card essentially allows you to access your Twin engine and your Frog engine, and of course your Spright engine, just without having to even use Gigantic Spright, or you can use this as a bait to summon Gigantic Spright, and this works really well. Pretty much under Mystic Mine, it gives them a monster, and then you can do the Gigantic Spright Mannequin Cat play versus tier elements, where you essentially bring out your combo, still end on Elf Toad, but while resolving Gigantic, or you make a Gigantic and this, you go Battle Phase, make Zeus over this, go Gigantic effect, chain Zeus, wipe away everything, detach the last material from Zeus, and pretty much you get Swap Frog from deck. And from that, that will result in your opponent not being able to summon anything because of Gigantic resolving. You wipe their board and you still end on the typical Spright double negate board. And then of course just the Sky Cavalry package with the Downward Zeus, pretty mandatory. Kind of like the go-to if you're not going to make Mannequin Cat. You can also just banish this off Prosperity too, if the Mannequin Cat will be more alive. For the side deck, I guess my only controversial / weird thing would be the Nibiru. It does kind of conflict with Mystic Mine, but the idea is you play it against the tier elements matchup to not get virused, and then even if you send this, or if you activate this and you tribute one of their tier element monsters, they'll trigger, and if they have the field spell up, they're 99% of the time gonna pop this to resolve the fusion effect to shuffle back. So you can still Mystic Mine them after, and then this is just really good against rogue decks like Marine Cess and Mathmech, like tier 1.5, tier 2 decks. Never sided during the mirror. Since we're playing Mystic Mine, we do go into time, or the game can be a little bit slower, so we do need the red resonator to secure the game. Honestly, overperforms most of the time, but that's just because everyone takes so long in their combos, and our combos don't really take that long. So for, I think, like the main downside to this deck, like most mid-range decks, it loses a lot to control decks, so you have a lot of backer removal. You could even side, like Red Reboot gets sided in almost against every matchup just because everyone's playing either some type of Iris, a Pointer, Artifact Sanctum, which we also play, Dimensional Barrier, so kind of always have to side this in. The Harpy's Feather Duster is kind of the weakest out of these, just because Runics can protect the cards. Cosmic Cyclone was really good against Runic matchup, of course. And then just the last thing, we don't really need that many going first cards, but when we do go first, we can take out the Mystic Mine and Dark Rulers, or a few of them, and just implement our artifact package. So you can also, the Scythe is really good, especially if you draw it, or even if you draw it rather, just for the fact that, of course, the Live Twins can trigger this by popping it on your opponent's turn, and the only cards that can really shut that off are going to be Dark Ruler, yeah, essentially just Dark Ruler DD Crow, but you can just always negate the DD Crow with totally awesome on board. And then of course the best application, or one of the best applications if you don't draw either Sanctum Trap Trick or the actual artifact Scythe, is Mannequin Cat can actually bring it out when your opponent summons a light monster or a fairy just due to its effect. So you can actually incorporate the Mannequin Cat on your end board and Scythe lock your opponent. It's pretty nasty. I think I did that to, or tried to do that to, a Punk player that I played in the regional. But yeah, the only change I would probably do is incorporate the third elf, but yeah, just let me know what you guys think. This might be a short-lived deck. I mean, I've been playing it for about a month already. It's performing pretty well, but if Mystic Mine gets banned, oh well. It is what it is. I'm just gonna keep playing mine until they ban it. Well, thanks for watching, guys.